All right, guys. So, more information just dropped regarding the NomNom versus Kickstarter and what we can expect going forward for the already created Kickstarter product. Um, Pretty cool stuff. So I will say I'm glad that they are going this route. As I mentioned in my last video yesterday, they did say like, hey, we have created some product with this other printer Rex 3, and as a token of appreciation and for patience and all that good stuff, and of course because the funds that for the Kickstarter were used for this, they are giving away the beta starter decks, as what they're now being called, for all the backers. So if you backed this project, even if you didn't get a starter deck in your pledge, you are going to be guaranteed one starter deck for free. If you did pledge the starter decks, you're going to be getting the amount of starter decks for your pledge, and that is confirmed by Ben over with the NomNom versus the Senpai Studio team. Let me go ahead and make myself small here real quick. Whoop. Nope. I always have issues with this, man. Yeah, so anyways, so Ben did officially confirm that yes, and I've already asked several questions. So very interesting to note here. This only applies to the starter decks, right? The playmats that they did create, which I should be able to show you guys a picture of that here shortly. Those playmats and the dice associated with the playmats that people may have ordered, those are actually like the final Kickstarter product. Now, something interesting to note is that these playmats are actually missing the Kickstarter logo, which they did say, hey, this was an oversight. However, they don't plan on making any more playmats with this actual artwork. So let me go and scroll up real quick because it should be right here. So this itself, let me go and open it in the browser. And I will just copy and paste that over here for you guys. Boom. All right. So this right here is the actual Kickstarter like playmat. This is like the final playmat that backers will be receiving, which is, again, it is an artwork change compared to the original playmat shown in the Kickstarter, because this is the actual playmat. Granted, of course, things are subject to change. So this red right here on the screen that you're seeing, this itself is the actual playmat shown. However, that has changed, and mainly because this is an actual change that I can completely understand. They wanted the playmats to actually have the zones where your cards go. For like you guys can easily tell here that it's zoned, right? Your items, P1, P2, P3 items, entrance, boss, deck, discard. So like that's why this playmat is the way it is. They did change some of the artwork, which honestly I kind of do like this artwork better than the other one, because you can see more of the actual nomsters and what do you call it? The champions. For example, you got, of course, Ralph here. You have Amos here, and of course you have Ralph's sister Zoe. And then obviously you see Peanut. You get to see Big Red, man. Probably one of my favorite cards, along with Muigi. And then on the other side you see Beta 3, Bell Dragon. Golly, I forget this guy's name off the top of my head. Voltaraptor. And then these little guys down here, I don't know the actual names. There's that horned fly, and of course Dynabug. But this is cool. So I can, we can basically officially say that particular Kickstarter product, the playmats, the dice, those are actually fulfilled. So backers of the Kickstarter are not going to be getting, for example, another set of playmat or playmats, depending on the tiers that backers pledged. The playmats are the final product, so that portion of the Kickstarter will be fulfilled. In terms of, let me make myself small again. In terms of the starter decks, again, you're going to be getting the beta starter decks. And I did ask the question, like, hey, is this technically considered beta, or alpha and not beta? And the answer was, it's considered beta because the alpha starter decks were basically printed for Victor and, for Victor and Moldy Potions. And so that's what they were using to test the game out and whatnot. So technically those guys have the alpha decks. These would be considered the beta decks. And so again, it's tied to your to your pledge goal. If you have the noob tier, which was $50, you're going to get 2 of the beta starter decks. And then when the Kickstarter is printed by the new printing facility in partnership with the Knights and Summons owner, right, Brian, which is now part of the Senpai Studio team. Once they actually print the new starter decks with the final, Kickstarter starter decks, you will also receive those starter decks from your original pledge. So again, you got 2 in the original pledge. You're going to get 2 beta starter decks, as well as you're going to get the 2 final decks once the Kickstarter, the other Kickstarter product is actually, fulfilled. Same thing. If you got, for example, I got one of the LGS tiers, right? If you get the LGS tier, right, it's going to come with 24 total starter decks, which means I should be receiving 24 beta starter decks, 12 of each Ralph and 12 of Amos. And then once the Kickstarter product from the new printing facility is fulfilled, I should be receiving a total of 24 starter decks, finalized starter decks, right? Like Kickstarter base set starter decks instead of beta. So that's cool. That's really good information to have. They did say, Ben did mention it, because I did ask him, like, hey, what's the ETA looking like, right? And right now they're hopeful that by the end of this week, hopefully, right, I'm probably gonna say within a couple of weeks, they should have more information in terms of timeline for fulfilling or to ship these out to the backers. So again, everybody who backed it will be receiving minimum of 1 starter deck with your order. People who actually purchased or backed, I should say, whoever backed the 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever starter decks, you're gonna get that amount in beta starter decks. So I think that's pretty cool. But again, I think another thing that was actually pretty interesting is that, yes, the playmats are final. So this is going to be the first official Kickstarter product that is going to be fulfilled. And again, this kind of harkens back to my original, I guess, idea that it seemed like they may be fulfilling in stages at the time back then, is what I thought, because of the starter decks only being shown. And it kind of came to fruition. We are kind of getting a partial Kickstarter fulfillment, and then moving into hopefully the new year, we should be getting closer and closer to getting the final product. So disappointing news, but I'm really happy to see that they're going to be giving, again, these beta decks out to everybody who backed it, not just certain people. It's literally to everybody. So hats off to them on that. And granted, a lot of people did make that, that claim, I should say, or like that observation of like, hey, what are you going to do with the decks that were used with the Kickstarter money that the backers gave you guys? And so I think this is an appropriate solution to that problem. I look forward to receiving the decks. Obviously, I will probably be making a video showcasing the cards, showcasing the product, packaging, all that good stuff. And I'll probably sell a couple of them. So we'll see. Again, I got like 24 of them coming. I don't need that many starter decks. And then I got another 24 that would be coming with the final Kickstarter product. So we'll see, man. But I think that's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it. And now it's just, hopefully we'll get a nice little Thanksgiving or early Christmas gift with these beta decks coming out. Now, if you guys haven't seen, right, make sure you guys go check out the video that the team put out on YouTube. I will go ahead and, you know what? I guess I could do that. We can go ahead and watch it together and kind of go over some stuff. And so, because I thought it was a pretty good update that the team came together to make. Technically, like Victor's on the screen doing the video, the announcement of everything that kind of went wrong and kind of why they decided to pivot, and things like just things that like hollow foiling, peeling off the cards and stuff. It's very hard, and I can completely understand why they would feel the need to pivot, especially near the end when nothing was being changed. So let's go ahead and play that video real quick. I'll put myself small here in the corner in a second, and then we can kind of discuss some more information given in that video. All right, let's go ahead and get this video started. I'll probably be pausing and kind of discuss some of the stuff that Victor goes over in this video, but without further ado, let's get it going.
Hello everybody, Victor Larson here, creator of the world of NomNom and co-founder of NomNomverse TCRPG. In lieu of recent events, we understand that we have quite a bit of people that are confused and frustrated with the project due to the multiple delays that we've had. I would just like to spend a moment going over some of the issues that we have been having that have changed this delivery date time and time again. I understand that the NomNom project has gone well past its delivery date, and we know this has caused frustration for some of our campaign backers. I ask that you listen to these announcements with an open heart as I share challenges we have faced and, most importantly, how we plan to move forward. From the start, we've worked closely with our printing facility through multiple promo packs, even making a trip to the facility to ensure the cards would turn out exactly how we envisioned them. One thing we knew going into working with this printing company is the company specializes in square cut, thick stock sports cards, working with such companies as Topps and Panini. They assured us at every step that they could handle our project, even though it wasn't their normal type of work.
All right, so now my mic's not muted. Let's go ahead and so if you guys saw that, right? If you guys heard that, the fact that the company Rex 3 that they were working with was used to Panini and Topps cards, right? He mentioned that they were used to working with cards that were square cut, not rounded corners, and specifically with a thicker card stock than typical trading card games. Now, if you guys remember, right, the doorway packs, they were pretty thick compared to all of the other cards that had been produced at the time. They were pretty good quality for the most part, in my opinion. They were just way too thick. However, you still had quite a bit of edge whitening and issues with the corners, and even issues with the hollow. Right, you could actually see the hollow foiling where it had like small chips of like little dots of missing hollow foiling throughout the card, and that was probably one of the concerns that a lot of people showed was like, well, these cards are just not high quality, right? Like they're coming apart at the seams essentially. And it's actually interesting that he did mention that, hey, like some of this hollow foiling on the cards that they were producing for us, it was just peeling right off, right? And then considering that they only worked for the most part with thicker cards, I can imagine that they had certain, machines that would print on this cardstock that may not be printing properly on the actual, on the cardstock that the team chose to use. So let's kind of continue this, but that's kind of a, definitely reason for why, especially for the community, we saw from the beginning like, hey, this is kind of an issue, right? Maybe I should just put myself in the corner. There we go. That's probably better. Let's do that. Cool. All right.
To adapt, we worked nonstop to adjust everything for them, even details that a typical trading card printer would already have in place. However, there were several crucial parts not brought to our attention at the very beginning of this process, from the round corners to uploading of files in a particular manner. This added not only extra time to the project, but also extra cost. Despite these setbacks, we tried to share every update we could during the printing process. But we're also hindered by the company's willingness to send constant updates. Many of you saw updates about the printing and cutting for our Ralph and Amos starter decks, but soon after we stopped sharing production images, mainly because we wanted to put a halt on production. There were several issues.
So that's the reason why we stopped getting updates as much as we wanted updates. They showed the behind the scenes. And actually, I will say, for a minute there, we were getting quite a bit of pictures from the printing facility, like almost weekly, right? And then all of a sudden, it just stopped for like a solid, I don't know, like 3 to 4 weeks. And so, yeah.
The corners were damaged, the foiling was peeling, and the card images were either zoomed in or cropped incorrectly. Time and time again, we have promised you guys high quality trading cards. However, the cards that we got back from the printer after all these proto packs, we were not satisfied with the final result of these starter decks. It was almost like we were taking 2 steps forward and 4 steps back. This all led up to Spookala, our first big convention, which we had already made announcements and were signed on to. We were also told that we would be able to have a lot of the Kickstarter product in hand before Spookala, which was a goal we were adamantly trying to reach. As we did not want to pull out of Spookala last minute, we decided to move forward as strongly as we could. With very little notice, our original printer informed us that we would not be able to produce our Spookala promos for the event in time.
All right, so some more information there, right? So very last minute, printing facility just kind of said, "Hey, bro, you're kind of SOL. We're not gonna be able to do this for you guys." Which he's gonna talk here shortly regarding these boys right here, which I hope we get some more information on, or they did mention, and you'll hear here shortly what those promos kind of help do, but it's kind of disappointing that the printing facility kept promising the team and essentially us that we would have everything ready by October or like late September. And so I'm assuming that the original plan was to have all this product, in hand for Spookala so that they could actually not only starter decks, but I'm assuming even booster boxes and, blister packs for sale to kind of get the game out there, get people excited to rip the product. And then obviously the Spookala promos to hand out or sell for whatever $25 it was. And so the printer at this point, man, I hope that this is a cautionary tale for new TCGs that are trying to come up. Be careful who your printing partner is, and don't be afraid to print overseas if overseas has the capacity and the capabilities to produce what you're wanting. I mean, yes, American made is cool, but also American made comes with a price increase for most products. It's a lot more expensive to produce, and if this is what you can kind of expect, that American companies are mainly used to producing, figure cards or different types of cards for other companies, then these are problems you're going to run into. Obviously, like Pokemon cards, Pokemon owns their own printer here in the States, right? Unless you're like a major player in the TCG space, you're probably not going to have your own printer. You're going to have to outsource this. And, part of the big selling point originally was that these cards were going to be made here in the U.S. And part of that was to avoid all of the shipping delays that other companies were facing, especially, during the last couple of years. One of the biggest criticisms for MetaZoo, for example, was that their product kept getting delayed, and they kept blaming the overseas printers. And so I can kind of understand, especially because people really like to compare NomNom to MetaZoo, mainly because of Victor's involvement with MetaZoo along with Moldy. They really want to compare the two, and they're trying to say like, oh, you're doing the same mistakes and whatnot. But I think the reason they chose that American-based printer was to differentiate themselves, especially from the TCGs that were having all of these delays, to give peace of mind to the Kickstarter backers and consumers, saying like, hey, at this point, like, there shouldn't be shipping delays, there shouldn't be any sort of overseas issues, because they're all going to be done here in the States, in-house. They could go visit the facility, which is what they did. And so I can completely understand why they chose to stick to their guns with a US-based printer. But ultimately, it was obviously the wrong choice. Hindsight is 2020, but the team can only do so much with the promises and I guess not obligations, but like the promises and the the just yeah, man. Just I can't. I'm at a loss for words. Just the promises, bro. The promises from the printing facility that they were partnered with. And I'm sure they had some sort of connect with the printing facility. Eventually, those type of companies, when they see that the pressure is mounting, they'll just stop communicating with you. They stop emailing you. They stop answering your calls. Been there, done that. I know how this works. So anyways, let's continue on.
Stating that they could not create the Spookala cards unless we had a minimum order of 60,000 cards, an unrealistic quantity for a limited convention promo. This put us in a difficult position and further restricted our ability to print smaller promo sets through our current printer. In response, we had to quickly pivot and find another printer capable of producing our Spookala promos within a very tight time frame. Thankfully, We did find a printer in time that could promise us a timely delivery of our promo cards for the event. However, we do want to clarify that the promo cards that were created for the event is not our final printer that we will be finishing off the rest of the Kickstarter with. Due to this outsourcing for our promo cards, we actually had some of the team members drive out to Minnesota to pack up all these promo packs individually by hand.
All right, and so here's another little like tidbit. So he mentioned that the printing facility would only print cards, would only print those promo cards if there was 60,000 of those cards. Now, what I assume that he means by this, it's 60,000 of each individual card in the promo set. So 60,000 Hollow Ralphs, 60,000 non-Hollow Ralphs, 60,000, game ghosts of each variant, which, yes, that is kind of ridiculous, right? We've seen smaller sets from overseas printers and serialized cards. And that's another thing. I wonder if that also had to do with why Ralph from the Spookala was originally meant to be a serialized promo, and now he's not, right? Originally, one of the messages that they shared in the Discord was, hey, this is going to be, there's going to be a serialized Ralph hollow that you can pull from these Spookala promo packs, and that is no longer the case, right? This is very, you can tell just by the quality of the cards, this was very put together last minute. They just wanted to get something out. I know there's still anger or disappointment in the fact that they did charge a premium for these promo cards, and I hope we get to hear in the future maybe some sort of solution to that. I know that that's they're probably not going to do that ever again, especially if this new printer it proves to produce high quality cards, promos, etc. And based on what people are saying online, and after looking at the Knights and Summons TCG and the card quality it looks pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. I'm hoping that's going to be the case with the NomNom. And we did get confirmation from Brian that right now the printing facility that Brian has worked with for Knights and Summons is 100% prioritizing NomNom for their printing needs. And so again, he said that he's hoping within no less than, or I guess no more than 3 months, we should see our Kickstarter product. I'm hoping that's the case, but I'm also going to say I don't think we're going to get this till February, maybe March, which is going to be basically a year to the date of the Kickstarter launching, which again, not that bad. Most Kickstarters take about a year to two before the product is even sent to people. So let's kind of continue watching. But I just thought that was kind of interesting that the printer was basically like, no, you're gonna have to make 60,000 of each card. I assume, because I would assume that's, I'm assuming that's a requirement. Because otherwise, 60,000 cards, like it ain't much. If you have, let's say, 7 cards in a set, and you have 10,000 packs or something, like it ain't too bad. But I'm assuming it could be 60K of each card that you're needing produced. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong, but let's just kind of go.
Even though these promo cards might not be the best of quality, we wanted to make sure that they were delivered in a way that showed you guys, hey, we do care and we are trying to give you guys a good experience and a good product here. We understand some of you are less than satisfied with the amount paid for these. However, thanks to everybody's support, this helped us cover the costs that were coming out of pocket to make all of this happen, not only for the event, but for these extra products that we are trying to do to fill the void of no Kickstarter. Despite all of this, the Spookala event was a huge success. We found ourselves teaching a bunch of new fans how to play the game, which leads me to my next talking point. Starter decks. We have a bunch of starter decks from our previous printer that need homes. We do have a bunch of starter decks that we will be sending to all our Kickstarter backers so that you guys can now play at home or wherever, and you will have the cards to do so. Not only will you guys have these cards, but we will also be sending the playmats you guys also ordered. So, on top of the Kickstarter starter decks that you guys will still be receiving, you are now getting, let's call them beta starter decks. Although these starter decks were not at the level of quality we were hoping for when we finally got our hands on them, which we did manage to get them in hand before the Spookala event, we just knew that working with this printer was not going to work. So we quickly pivoted and started reaching out. So I speak for the whole team when I say that we are all thrilled to announce that after careful review of our options, we are now partnered with Brian Tomeo of Knights and Summons trading card game. Brian himself has successfully ran Knights and Summons trading card game for several years and has officially joined the NomNom team as our head of production and manufacturing. Brian has established a 3-year relationship with a manufacturer we are now moving forward with for the printing of NomNom Verse. This new partnership guarantees both the quality we have been looking for and a timeline that we are more confident in than ever. So, just to reiterate, we'd like all of you guys to know watching this video that we have starter decks and playmats that have been created with our previous printer. We are more than happy to send what you guys are more than entitled to for your continued patience and support. We understand y'all's frustration, and we are here to answer questions and concerns and trying to address all of these issues as best as we possibly can. I speak for the whole team when I say that we greatly appreciate your guys' patience and your support as we move forward to the final stretch of this journey. Thank you for your continued belief in us and the NomNomverse project. We're excited to move forward with this new chapter and deliver the experience you have been waiting for.
All right, so I don't know who that is, but cool. Shout out to that guy. All right, so yeah, so basically same info that I went over this entire thing, this entire video, this another 30-minute video. But one thing to note, one thing that I'm kind of curious about was so if you guys saw some of the Kickstarter, or I guess the beta decks, right? They do have the Kickstarter logo on the bottom. So I wonder if they're going to do anything to differentiate, the beta from the final product, the final Kickstarter starter decks, because I could have sworn I've seen the decks have the actual Kickstarter logo on the bottom right, similar to how the promos here. I don't know if you guys can probably not see that, but the promos. Do you see that little green K at the bottom? The promos for Spookala have the Kickstarter promo or the Kickstarter logo on the bottom, and so very curious to see how that's going to work for grading purposes, right? Because if they both have Kickstarter logos on the bottom and you know what I'm saying? Like there has to be something going on, or there has to be some sort of differentiating factor so that, collectors, if they do choose to grade those beta starter decks, so that like PSA and like all these other grading companies can differentiate between Kickstarter, product versus beta starter deck. Hopefully we'll hear some more information on that, or maybe some new, I don't know, maybe some sort of like new little logo on the cards that they can add. Who knows? I'm just curious to see how that's going to work out, because obviously if it's going to be a huge difference in quality, then it should be pretty easy to differentiate the two, especially with the hollows, if I'm not mistaken. So anyways, that's all I got for you guys today, man. Let me just kind of end this video now because it's getting pretty long, and let me know what you guys think. I'm pretty excited to receive these decks and playmats. Hopefully, man, I got like 12 playmats coming, or something crazy like that. What is it? 24 playmats coming. I'm gonna have a lot of playmats. Golly. Anyways, once they arrive, hopefully within the next couple of months, I will absolutely make a video going over all of the product, the cards in the starter decks, and of course playmats. And that too, I will probably be selling quite a bit of playmats. So that's all I got for you guys today. And hopefully we get some more information pretty soon about these shipping out. See y'all later.